It's your man, PooNanners, broadcasted to you live from Houston, Texas. That's right, I'm your Texas caster and hype master, and I'm again joined by StealthShampoo.
We're going to be here at VRespawn talking about lots of cool VR games that happened over the last couple weeks. We took the 4th of July off because we had to go barbecue and party. Lots of things to talk about.
Speaking of news, we're going to be talking about Onward. 2 weeks worth of stuff to cover, and Nikki has put together a really nice piece to let us know about what's going on in Onward.
Onward's recent overhaul allows players to loot dead enemies, throw back enemy grenades, and adds a strategic lobby attack planner, or SLAP, where players can draw out plays. SLAP is the real thing, the acronym made by me, and we really should stick with it. With Oculus Connect 5 coming in September, the unbeatable Globochem are pushing to take the #1 seed, with Mob Squad potentially also looking for a free trip to San Jose, California. Week 1's VRML had Animal House's Steven sneak up behind an enemy and revive his teammate, making it a 2v1, only for his teammate to be used as a bullet sponge while Steven cleans up the round. Animal House barely pulled ahead 9-8 in that series. Boss Fight's Weather Balloon pulls off an amazing buzzer-beater satellite upload to win the round in a 1v2, landing 1 kill and capping the objective just a second before the final beginners player shows up, failing to stop him in time. Boss Fight's team wins that one 4-2. Suburbia's upper floors proved difficult to breach, with beginners cracking the first defense of the match and winning the series. Weather Balloon's Riot Shield proved incredibly helpful in cleaning out the last beginners' defenses, who were holding the upstairs mid uplink. On the same map, Silent Purge's clean pushes up the center building to wipe Lemon Squad brought them a 3-0 W, as expected from Silent Purge's historically strong team. Solo makes his pitch for MVP of Week 1 as he lands down a plant 3-2. This plant would have scored his team 2 points, winning the game 3-4, but Solo gets gunned down before he finishes dialing in his iPad. Or does he? The photo finish was so close that the spectator mode shows 4-2 in favor of Silent Purge, but a closer look at the scoreboard shows 3-4 in favor of Lemon Squad, with the scoreboard arguing that the iPad code entry went through. Meanwhile, the in-game lobby indicated a score of 4-4. Ultimately, league moderators deemed this the first ever draw in Onward history. Lemon Squad hype off their suburbs win, steamrolls 4-0 on Downfall. With 1 tie and 1 Lemon Squad W, Solo looks to solidify his position as Week 1 MVP, pulling off an insane 1 versus 5 ace, putting his team on the back to take the round. Week 2 matches are underway. Can Silent Purge not shoot their friends in the back of the head? Will Solo prove once again that when life gives him lemons, he can put them on his back? We're looking forward to seeing whoever comes out on top and wins that trip to Oculus Connect 5.
A minute left. Solo crosses. He picks Buxton.
Solo wins it.
The 1v5 Solo.
Oh, man, you got to love last-minute wins. Too bad it ended in a draw. I guess
A little bit weird sometimes, and that was one of those situations where the game showed 3 different scores. Each team winning a tie. It was really weird, but the officials decided to end it in a tie anyway. But Solo coming in with that hot uplink and then the 1v5 clutch. Just absolutely insane plays from what I saw. MVP of the week, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this is just the opening salvo of games. There's still more games being played. They scheduled and play in a ladder format for anybody who doesn't know. We'll go over that a little bit later, but first we want to talk about the leader from SMC Tactical, the Sickness, who could not get his passport in time to make it out to the UK Invitational, and we were able to get some words with him on camera. All right, here we have the Sickness, team captain of SMC Tactical, number 3 finisher in the world, number 3 finisher on the UK Invitational. At the time, if I remember correctly, you said you had 5 people. You're up to 8 now?
That's right.
Up to 8, and I think you picked up someone's girlfriend as well. Another addition to the team.
Yeah, our star player, Landon Jordan, his fiance is now our 8th and final rostered player for the remainder of the season.
Give us a little bit about your theory of the game, your roles to play.
Every team's got kind of their own thing. Let's talk about a couple of the elite teams really quickly. We talk about GloboChem. They're a hybrid team. That's the kind of team that they can hit you with the slow, methodical plays and pick people off, or they can blitzkrieg you from one side and overwhelm you. And that's the kind of team that knows when to do what. And you have another team like Beginners, and that's a really slow, methodical team always. Odds are first 2 minutes of the game, you probably won't see anybody on that team. And then in the last 1 minute, there's going to be about 4 or 5 smoke grenades coming in and coordination that is unparalleled in the league. And then you have a team like my team, which is SMC Tactical, and we are balls to the wall all the time. We come fast. We push hard on one side, distracted fire, pop, pop, pop. You're going to see us, and we're going to know how this round's going to end within the first minute and a half of every single game.
Control the chaos, right? If you can control the tempo of battle, don't let them execute their offense. They'll always be on the defense. And if they're on the defense, they can't win. Now, I hear y'all are just getting started into this next season. I hear you are coming for GloboChem.
The thing with GloboChem is that every time we play that team, it seems like we're always this close. And every single time they put the throttle down and they pull away from us, and we've never been able to beat that team as a team, and that's the team that we want to go after the most.
I am starting to see a lot of the pro level players pull away from the pro tubes. Like, people are starting to figure out that they can just do without. It's kind of half and half right now. What are your thoughts on that?
I've had a pro tube for a long time. I've had a pro tube. I'm on Oculus now, exclusively on Oculus. The tough thing about a stock is it does some things well, and it hinders other parts of your game is just as much as it can help some parts. So it gives you that third point of contact onto your shoulder, which really, really stabilizes your rifle. And that is something that you really can't make up for with just loose controllers in your hand. However, you are encumbered pretty severely by using a stock. No matter what you do, snapping back onto this thing and pulling up is going to slow you down than what you could do if you're freewheeling it. So probably the top 3 fastest shots in the game at the highest level are not using stocks.
Well, I appreciate you talking with us. The Sickness. I can't wait to see more from you guys and watch you climb the ladder boards. You have any words for your rivals coming up?
We've been receiving a lot of challenges because, like I said, we've always been the underdog, and we were able to get Boss Fight, and we were able to get Beginners, and we were the underdog in both of those matchups. So I anticipate some challenges to come in from those boys, and I look forward to those matches. But GloboChem, just, keep doing your thing, stay at the top, watch us knock everybody else out of the way because we're coming.
So you heard it from the horse's mouth himself. The Sickness is coming for GloboChem, dedicating 100% of his time to Oculus. Let's take a look at the standings that we have here for the league. The MMR is only just now starting to take shape, but of course we see GloboChem at the top, and we see SMC Tactical not quite near the top. But he did let me know that these are just 2 games in. We have to give it more time to take shape, and we will follow that as we get time.
Lemon Squad's probably going to be picking up. I saw them down there towards the bottom. With the player as insane as Solo, I don't expect them to be down at the bottom. What is that, an 8th place too long?
Yeah.
Given everyone's still floating around, people are finding their spots. Not a lot of games have been played, so this isn't a great way to determine who will be at OC5 if Onward is going blood. But GloboChem is pretty much set, showing complete dominance during the Onward Invitational, and they've just been a strong team throughout Onward's history. So we'll probably see them if they're inviting 2 teams. The second spot might be hard fought.
I think we may see the same teams we saw at the UK Invitational, honestly.
Maybe,
At the very
4
least,
teams.
top 4 teams of the current season.
Yeah, that would be a good showing. A little bit longer of a tournament than just like a best of 7 1v1. I would like that more. But speaking of ESL PooNanners, we got some news this week. The Unspoken was on the chopping block, and they axed it for a week.
We were waiting for the 7 cups, and then they were saying, okay, there's going to be like a qualifier round because that was the information, and then we're going to go to OC5, and all that just says, nope, we're just paying out and we're done. And there wasn't a lot of people watching it, and there wasn't a lot going on in that league. It's like I can actually pull up those stats right now. We could take a look. That same thing happened week over week. Charizard marched all the way down to the end. Getsu marched all the way down to the end and got 2-0'd and had it handedly. We see over in the Europeans playing, is the same thing. Like the chart was a little bit too big, but it was the same old story. Flush runs all the way down, Yawning runs all the way down. Flush 2-0s them and holds on to a massive lead. When your league is kind of stacked that way, you can have people who don't want to get in there and don't want to play. And so there was a bit of a pullback. And so ESL thought people wouldn't be interested. And they were wrong. People were interested to see what happens. But where we get our most interesting battles is the same stuff we saw in Poland, is when we take the top 2 from North America and we take the top 2 from the EU and put them together. That's what people want to see. People want to see not only these people fight again, they want to see if Getsu can recover from his wrist. And what I personally want to see is I want to see Flush and I want to see Charizard go toe-to-toe again.
There were a lot of players taken to the streets very angry that they got axed. But man, I was just selling pitchforks and shovels. So it was a happy ending at the end of the day. A lot of players were super vocal about the game they loved. And it really showed ESL that people are playing this game and they love playing it.
We have a lot of community leaders for Oculus and for ESL that were saying, hey, we're working something out. Give us a minute. And once they announced what had happened, that had blown up a little bit on the Discord and Reddit. So we're like, we'll just cover it as part of our regular show. But that is the impetus of this show, and the entire concept of VRespawn is that it's a community thing. We are the ones who are going to build the VR esports community. ESL is going to produce the video for us. Oculus is going to fund it and bring the technology. But we are the ones who have to show up. We are the ones that have to play. We're the ones that have to watch, and we're the ones that have to tell our friends to come and watch it with us. So we have to do this together. And this time, we showed our chops as a community and did it. We were able to bring it back, and they should be at OC5. Which brings us to Sprint Vector. Sprint Vector, the fastest, the runningest, the jumpingest. Not a lot changed in their league. It's still kind of the same, but players just are finding better paths. People are finding ways to recover. These guys have to be adaptive. I did a whole piece on it, and I hope you enjoy it. We got 2 weeks to cover in Sprint Vector, so I'm just going to try to be real quick to show you some of these highlights from KatieDead's channel, since KatieDead's the only one who bothers to Twitch stream, but she had a lot of really good moments. Right here, you actually see she got dropped all the way down into 7th, luckily gets a Nitro and found the perfect place to drop her Nitro here to get her all the way up from 7th to 5th to 3rd to 2nd to 1st, and then she holds on to it the entire time. This track right here is an excellent example of brilliant pathing combined with brilliant recovery. Watch what she does here. She runs across the track and it catches a triple missile in the back, and instead of falling to her death, finds a way to recover. Last second changes in her mind. This is adaptability, something that I love about esports gamers, that they're not just about skill, they're about their ability to adapt to things that they're not used to. We saw a lot of that over at CES in Vegas, and we're seeing these players become more and more adaptable as they have to take different items that come against them. So she does item management, great pathing through the trees. She actually has a long-form interview on Hasko's YouTube channel where she shows you a lot of the different paths that she takes, all these shortcuts as well. You see right here is another time where she has to recover. She has no power, is about to fall into this hazard, but instead keeps going, dodges that missile, later taunts a player for it, which is a pretty good clip in and of itself. And as you enjoy this sweet recovery to 2nd, get ready to enjoy this sweet interview that Hasko clipped out for us.
When did you start playing Sprint Vector?
I started playing it when it was officially released. I didn't do anything pre-release like a lot of the other top players did. Competitive-wise, this is the first time I've ever done anything actually competitive in like a tournament style like this.
Right, that's awesome. Now, have you played other games like flat games, or did you just start out with VR like me? Because I never did any other kind of games before this.
When I was 5 years old, I started off with Super Mario 3 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So I've been playing games for quite a while.
That's great.
And just seeing how it's been progressing, up to this point. So, I'm talking to a shark right now. It's amazing. Whenever it was released, I got it. I was completely garbage at the game, but I kept trying, and eventually now I'm number 2 in North America, apparently.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So what did you do to go from being complete garbage to being number 2 in the nation? And what would you recommend to other players who want to be a top competitor in Sprint Vector?
Above anything else, learn the maps. When I was first
learn the
playing,
maps. Okay.
People were getting times that I was like, that's not possible. You can't do that going this way. And then I started seeing little shortcuts here and there. And I'm like, oh, so you can actually go this way and you don't have to go around this big bend, or there's a bunch of boosts over here that you can hit. And if you look up there at those blue things, those boosts,
yes,
jumping into those will make you go further. Stuff like that. I would say go into quick matches more and, try and build the player base back up.
Right.
And hopefully with more players, you can practice more against people rather than the AI.
With all the VR games, I think we have so many awesome games right now. We're almost shooting ourselves in the foot because we have so much great product to offer here, and yet we don't have the people here yet to use it. Who do you feel right now is your biggest competition?
In North America, I would say Kaz, definitely. He actually won first place in every single race in the last cup we had. So I would say he's the biggest competition.
So that was Hasko. She has longer form interviews on her channel. Be sure to check those out if you want to hear more from those players. That was KatieDead, whose videos we have been taking from her Twitch. She's very fun to watch. I've watched her get better. I've watched her, kind of fight for second, and then now getting to hold on to it consistently, or as she said, now number 2 in North America.
So that was Ice 2, as we call it. She was going to get shot by a rocket, and it's during the segment where you cut from the bridge to the left and you're flying through the air.
Mm-hmm.
But you're very susceptible to rockets there. You get hit, you're going to fall, you're going to start way in the back.
While she was going this way, the rockets got her, and instead of falling to her death, she used the jump boost mechanic where you jump and grab the air and throw it behind you, because you can still do that, I guess, and use that to inch towards the glip stream and then pulled herself forward. That recovery right there, that's what I clipped that out as. And I was like, amazing recovery. Me, I would have just consigned myself to death. I would not have thought I could survive that. Did you see that path she took too?
Yeah, from on the right on top of the houses.
Like through the trees?
Back right of the houses.
I was like, I didn't know you could go that way.
That was crazy. I really like Sprint Vector is, of course, one of me and PooNanners' favorite games on the circuit.
Yeah. Now, they did talk a little bit about how, there's not enough people playing right now, and that in order to get better, they need more competitors. So that means the field is open. You want to get in there. Like, we don't talk about this enough, and we're really going to start talking about it more. But there is money in each of these weekly cups. There is money to be had and trips to be had for a lot of them. So it's worth taking them. It's worth getting in that league and actually fighting out for it. Get that money. Yes. It's like my $100. But yeah, she fought it hard and was able to get there. And you play harder players, you get better. So you got to get there and play. Get in the Discord and say, hey, I want to race, and people will jump in. But I really like fighting the bots. I mean, honestly, even at my level, which, at the beginning, I was the Unspoken Sprint Vector, Sprint Vector world champion.
The number 1.
Number 1, undefeated. So I'm pretty fast. I'm pretty good at the game. I'm nowhere near at the level these guys are playing at. I would get torched. So let's take a look at the standings that we had for these guys. You have Kaznaz, as you heard in the video, and as you've always heard from us, always number 1. But Katie pulling up number 2. She did not get number 2 on the previous cup. She did in the cup before that, though, and got all the points that she needed to hold on. As you can see, they're all very close, swapping back and forth between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. But as she said, Kaznaz got first place every single race. It seems that all the fighting happens in 2nd place to 5th place. And if the first place guy gets just a little bit of ways away, the 2nd place guy never gets a clean shot at him, and it just starts getting a larger and larger gap between 1st and 2nd place.
Over here on the European side, Stody, undisputed number 1, as always. I don't think Stody has actually ever finished less than number 1 in a cup. 3 of the top 4 are Unspoken players, but Stody's a Sprint Vector player, and this is his turf. So they're having a hard time.
He's a full-timer. Flush Gogo, number 1 player for Unspoken. As evidenced by the amount of points, 60, he came in 2nd place for every track, but is not able to get up to Stody. Speaking of relentless things that won't stop and that are getting bigger, I feel, every single week, Dave's Pavlov. You put together a really good piece for us with that, and with the help of Bro, our staff writer for Pavlov.
The United Week of Freedom saw a record 10 Pavlov League games played, an astounding turnout highlighted by one of the first ever shoutcasts via Pavlov TV. Voltron vs. Dreams match took everyone's attention, where Dreams Kraken pulls off an insane 1v2 to pull Dream into match point. Voltron dominated on Data Center, up 8-1 on the half. Because Data Center is a completely symmetrical map and the first map ever in Pavlov, it's hard for either team to take up position on either bomb site, and Voltron's early lead hurt Dream's economy significantly. Voltron came out hot on Dream's Dust 2 pick up until round 5, where Voltron was only up 5-4. Dream won on the 19th round, where both teams stood 9-9. Voltron's long A push completely failed, and Dream was able to pick them off on their poorly executed rotation, the Challenge Series rematch ending at 1-1. Voltron swept Team Magma 2-0, but not without an insane quadruple feed by Team Magma's that guy Chris. Voltron led down long A with multiple flashbangs, only for 3 of their players to get caught out in the open by Chris, and the 4th to lose a long-range firefight against the Team Magma superstar. Meanwhile, Team Magma and VRespawn writer Bro tore through 3 of Voltron's players with 5 clean pump shoddy shots, a gun that I previously thought before the latest patch was only marginally more useful than throwing your knife. Team Lava got their first 2-0 W against Arctic, behind Oz Army, who also scored their first win against the Lava newcomers. The 3 teams are battling for a Rising Star spot, going back and forth each week. Meanwhile, the Mafia tied TNT a second time, winning their Challenge Series 4-2, but with TNT quickly improving, we could see them bring that score back in the future. Meanwhile, 4th place TNT tied against 3rd place Team Dream, with Dream only 10 MMR points behind the leftovers. We're seeing a serious fight around the 2nd to 4th place spots on the leaderboards as well.
All right, we have with us Voxy from the Pavlov map making community, very well known and prolific map maker. Also, if I remember correctly, the maker of one of the only custom maps that is allowed in League play, Industrial. Now, do you try to employ things in these maps that you feel play better in VR and would not play as well in regular first-person shooters?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in regular first-person shooters, you can only stand, you can only crouch. With VR, you can sort of peek through little gaps that you might not be able to shoot through. So I try to incorporate that sort of thing in my maps. Yeah.
Now, how long have you been doing this VR map making, or just map making in general?
I've been mapping for Pavlov for about a year now, but previously I was involved in small map communities for Half-Life 2, and some smaller Half-Life mods.
How exciting was it for you to get back into it and then find out that people really liked your maps and used them in League play?
The fact that people ended up adopting this map and playing it in the League, it still trips me out, and I'm just happy people are playing it.
Now, I know you have several other maps, but are you going to try to design another League play map?
The next thing would be to try to get my map Manor to be adopted for competitive play. There's already been a little bit of talk about it, but it's really on me to see what I can do to make it more competitively viable. The great thing about being part of the Pavlov Discord is that people let you know what they think about your maps. So there are many people on the Discord that have given me feedback and help make my maps better.
Yeah, it's VR, man. We're a tight community, so we're not only building these leagues, we're not only building these media sources in our own communities, but we're building the games. Dave is programming. Good old Voxy here is making maps for it, along with several other map makers, making sure to replicate maps that they see in CSGO and other changes they feel that are VR specific. It's all about working together as a community. Hey, if no one else is going to do it, we'll do it.
The most interesting thing for me is what makes a map competitively viable. You can see from Counter-Strike, people play those maps because they work. And for me, it's a matter of sort of deconstructing what makes them work and then making that work with the addition of VR. Pavlov is a much different game than Counter-Strike.
Something I do see common about competitive maps is that you have areas that are defensible but not perfect defensible. Like there are multiple avenues of attack. But one of the things I see that makes maps really stand out for people are high risk reward type situations where you have an area that will allow you to bypass a lot of crap and get you where you need to be, but it is wide open.
Yeah, the mid area in Industry, it's a long corridor, not much cover, and the defenders, they have control of that at the start, but if they don't defend it, then attackers can go to either bomb site. So that's another high risk reward, like you were saying.
Sounds like you've already got it all figured out. Well, Voxy, I appreciate you talking to us. I cannot wait to see more of your maps in League play. Can't wait to see how Manor turns out. And I can't wait to see how, as we continue to press forward with VR and Pavlov, that you start figuring out some stuff that no one even thought of to see something crazy and amazing in your VR maps.
Well, wouldn't that be cool? Thanks for having me.
So that was Voxy, the prolific map maker for Pavlov. Most of the maps made by the community, lots of them CSGO replications. Some of them are just kind of making it up as you go.
If you guys don't know, Pavlov's Steam Workshop has lots of maps from a ton of first-person shooters. There's Rust from Modern Warfare 2, one of the most infamous maps in gaming history.
Yeah.
Shipment from Call of Duty 4. There's maps from Halo. There's multiple GoldenEye maps in Pavlov. They transfer over so well. And it's really interesting going and playing in VR these maps that you had played way back in the day.
And the developer's kicking out updates super fast, and he's doing it without introducing much bugs either. Like I don't know how this one-man development team is able to do what he does. And we have that great interview, if you haven't read it, up on VRespawn, written by Bro, where he really digs into what makes Dave tick. And apparently what makes him tick is making games, and we are the better for it. I know I keep trying to press the people that I deal with over at ESL. It's like, hey, you need to give Pavlov a look. It is really exciting. It's really fun. In Onward, you have the buildup of tension and the setup of your tactics and where you're going to come and try to outthink the other players. And then all of a sudden, just a few seconds of firefight and it's all over, which is really fun in its own way. But then Pavlov has that just constant action and tension, and your legs shaking the whole time, don't know what's going on. But then these like amazing moments that have made Counter-Strike and CSGO so popular for so many years.
Yeah, and Pavlov, you're more likely to get that John Wick style guy running in with a deagle and decking people in the back of the head. If they count their bullets, they count their shots, they know when to reload, and they do it so quickly too.
Let's take a look at the standings.
Oh yeah, here we got Voltron, as usual, up 13 MMR. This has progressed pretty far in their season. The Leftovers actually overtaking Dream Team just by 10 points.
I can't believe it.
And then Dream here in third place. TNT in fourth, just below Dream. Like I said in that package, the Leftovers, Dream, and TNT are fighting over the second through fourth spots.
Same old, same old. The people that you expect to be on top are on top. A little bit change up down to second and third, but we expect in the next week to see a little bit more swapping between second and third. Maybe we'll see if they get themselves a hold on it. Speaking of games that we love, one of my personal favorites, as evidenced by my fancy jersey that I got from the Poland World Finals. Echo Arena had their Stage 2 finals, and we got some really nice coverage of it. I got to get most of the EU and a good chunk of the North American teams. I had an appointment with my wife to do some kind of like doctor-related thing, but he had to deliver a baby, so I got to cover the entire thing. And it turns out ESL, through their Facebook stream, was also covering some of the same events, but I was already committed to do it, so I wasn't going to let them have all the fun. So here's some highlights that we put together for you, followed by a quick interview, or I don't know if you could even call it interview, but it's a really fun piece to follow. The Echo Arena Stage 2 playoffs kicked off with DJ Nike and myself covering many of the games for the EU on our respective Twitch channels. Here you can see Maddie of Aftershock showing off a long-range 3 against Blast, who were unhappy. They called it a luck shot, so Maddie had to answer that by stopping Blast's goal attempt against them and dropping a full-court three-pointer from the bottom of the backboard. Blast was also not happy about that one either, and they had to answer with some points of their own. So after, you'll see Boop's going to come in with his patented long-range 3, which is going to ding off the goal heartbreakingly. Slin's going to recover it, and then Avatar is going to boost like lightning out of nowhere just to steal it out of his hands and slam it, and Slin's going to be left hanging. He's like, what even happened? Apparently, we got scored on. And over in the American League, we saw an upper bracket final with 11.5 fighting Eclipse using these textbook layups that most of the high-level players are known for, and these guys really show it off. The first round proved to be everything that you could want. High stuns, high team play, and then this triple knockout to completely provide an almost uncontested goal so they could drop it in and at least take one round away from Eclipse. And proved not to be enough in the end as they go 2-1 and drop down to lower bracket to face against the Metamercs, who started off kind of rocky. And then this time they were awake, though, and it looks like the 11.5 are the ones, the guys that fell asleep as they try to recover the disc that they missed, and Speedy just snatches out his hand and drops it in the goal. You've got to come correct when you're going to roll with the Mercs, especially when they're awake. This led us to the grand finale, with the Rising Stars and the Metamercs facing off against Eclipse. They had a lot of confidence going in, some momentum as they clawed their way out of lower bracket. However, that would prove not to be enough as they get 2-0'd by Eclipse. And this was definitely the easier to swallow round as it only went 2-4. We got to talk to them a bit in the tubes afterwards about their excitement for going to the UK. One, again, the undefeated Eclipse. You're driving me insane with this undefeatedness.
Yeah, just that, they gave us a good game and stuff, and hey, we followed through. I mean, they're still a good team, so is 11-5, but obviously, you saw yourself. The teams this year are legit. The top 4 are completely legit. they all have a chance. But
Be good to see you guys for the third time.
Whoa! How do you get out of here? What the fuck is going on? I'm in Eclipse now. Kill him!
And just like that, Metamercs have been murdered. And they have been murdered virtually. And then when we come to the UK matches, maybe it will happen physically. The only time will tell, indeed, as poor Fair Enough was murdered by the players from Eclipse. The Metamercs.
Fair enough.
Oh, the Metamercs are trying real hard. You've been covering a lot of these games too. It was 11.5 coming out of nowhere, showing us what they've got. No one being able to take down Eclipse, though. And then Metamercs coming in and showing us that they could take down 11.5. But at the very beginning of this one, Metamercs were asleep. 11.5 are awake, and they got killed. We wanted to see them fight each other, and they did. And then 11.5 went up against Eclipse. And then they took one round, and we're like, oh, Hope destroyed. 11.5 right down the lower bracket to fight Mercs again. But this time, 11.5 is asleep, and Mercs are awake.
Right at the end was when I started watching in the finals, and I did not expect Eclipse to come out so unbelievably dominant against Metamercs.
Yeah, especially with that much time.
It was another tier of gameplay. We see Metamercs at the top. They've been beating 11.5 for the past couple of weeks. Of course, trading around right now. But Eclipse versus Metamercs was such a blowout because they had been in separate brackets for a while. Eclipse hadn't played Metamercs for at least 2 weeks. And wow, that sweep was unbelievably effective. And these are the top teams playing against each other.
Oh, yeah, these guys are no scrubs. On that top of that list, I mean, you also had coming in fourth, if I remember correctly, Omegators. And we didn't even talk about them. But the Omegators, like if you saw just two of them, you could 4v2 them and they would still destroy you. That's how good they are at this game. And this community is very friendly enough to help you do this. You can see that's how it played out. We talked about how Eclipse marched their way down, only gave up one round. They went up against 11.5 and went down to lower against Metamercs, who they had beat. And then, as you can see, the rest is history. Over in the EU, though, we had a little bit different story, and I talked about it a little bit in the beginning. But Blast, formerly known as Blah Blah Blah, formerly known as BLT with Cheese, formerly known as Ding and part of Jax, now more Jax than Ding with the retirement of the Niles after the stage 1 blowout that they suffered from before they changed their name to Blah Blah Blah. And they have Affenterror. As you can see, Affenterror does a really good job picking up the slack. That was interesting to see that play out, to see Blast actually take that win. And I think what's going to be exciting is to see how it all works out when they all get together in the UK in less than a week. Actually, right around the time the World Cup final is going to happen, which England has a strong chance of being in. So that's going to be a thing. We are going to the UK. ESL's flying us all out, gave us basically, mostly everybody, 0 notice. We're going to be all out in the UK. We're going to be in Leicester, same studio that they shot the Onward Invitational at. It's going to have the oldies but goldies, the teams that you know, top of both leagues. Eclipse, 11.5, Metamercs, Omegators, Gravity, the newly named Blast, who on all of our lists has question marks because we're thinking they're going to change their name again. Aftershock and Boost picking up the tail end there. We don't talk about Boost a lot, but while they are a top-tier team, they just don't have that drama that we have between Aftershock, Gravity, and Blast. Well, they probably do. We just don't hear about it a lot. We know that the Europeans in Echo Arena love their drama. They really do.
If I had to put money on it, Eclipse is winning. If this were a democracy and we could
they never
vote on
lose.
the winning team, my vote is Metamercs. My money is on Eclipse.
Well, another thing we should mention, though, that it seems to be vastly different play styles. EU, they play more separated. They play really fast, but they spread it out. And if you watch the North American teams, they are pounding each other. Some of the highest stunning games. These guys never stop. The idea was kind of like draw it into a CQC, create chaos, and then whose mind can figure out at the fastest, plan ahead. You could watch Palador's channel. He really explains that out. They threw it up in the Facebook stream showing Palador explaining some stuff and about planning ahead and changing direction and how he outthinks them. And it becomes almost like a mini chess match you're playing in your head while you're sweating to death and moving your entire body around.
You know, if you take a look at the EU final scores on those cards you just put up, I'm pretty sure that was the highest scoring game if you add up the two numbers. I'm going to try to do math in my head. 38. Yeah, that's the highest scoring game off the top of my head, Blast versus Aftershock. The EU players are so aggressive as far as just scoring points. And you take a look at NA, and the score between Eclipse and Metamercs was not nearly as high, pulling out at 25 points there. Just a lot faster play, a lot more stacking coming up from the EU guys. It's one of the things the pro players asked me casting NA versus casting EU. What's the difference? And the EU games going into the finals, there's so many more points, so much more flying around and fleeing off each other. While over here in the NA, everyone's punching each other in the face. Let's see, upper final here, 29-25. So that is one of the exceptions.
That was a wild game.
That's more than 50
that was a wild
points.
game.
That's 54
Well,
points.
the reason it was that bad was they went 3 rounds. They went 3 rounds because 11.5 won the first one. They won it by a lot. Well, I think
That's
it
true
was,
also.
I don't remember the score. It was in the highlight. That last point they scored was ended up being the ending score. And it was a very high scoring game between the two of them.
We'll see how things go when worlds collide very soon in Europe.
I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to shoot some videos, see what it is we can do, who we can meet, so we get some behind the scenes footage for people. Remember, we build this as a community. As you know, hit up Esports VR, drop some messages, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Discord. Seriously, any of these streams, clip stuff out, send us highlights, let us know, because we're going through finding stuff on our own, but we're trying to get this information out to people as fast as possible. And half the reason it takes us so long is that there's not near enough of us doing this right now. It's me, Stealth, Bro, and Hasko right now. Charizard said he would actually start writing Unspoken for us. Lonely Viper hinted that he might consider writing some Onward stuff for us. That leaves us finding one more person to do Sprint Vector. I think Cod's Worthless had mentioned he was interested. But right now, just anybody who wants to write stuff, send us pictures, memes. We'll even do those, man. It's a community-built program.
Come talk to our HR department. We'll have you on board if you can send me some clips, send me some memes, send me some gameplay, send me some advice.
Yes, and always make sure that you have plenty of syrup in your pantry.
Exactly. Stay hydrated, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Connect with us everywhere there is to connect with us. And PooNanners is going to go enjoy Europe. I'm going to go to bed.